How's it going, everyone? Nick from Comic Culture here. It's time for Nick at Night, my weekly non-spoiler comic book review show. We don't have a ton of books to get through, but let's get started right now. I'm going to go ahead and put my grading scale up, and how this works is, as I introduce a book, I'm going to put the cover of that book on the grading scale so you can see how they stack up against each other. And we're going to jump into the big two as we always do, starting with DC Comics, Batman Superman World's Finest, issue number 14 from Mark Waid and team. And I've absolutely been loving this run so far. We have Mora and Bond Villain on here as well. Super awesome creative team. So glad that the three of them get to team up on this book so often. So if you need a good place to jump in with World's Finest, I would suggest starting from the beginning and getting into Lazarus Planet a little bit. But if you need a good place to jump in on World's Finest, issue number 13 is a great place to do so because that's the beginning of the new arc. We're post Lazarus Planet right now. If you don't know what that is, it was a giant battle between this god that's been locked away for a long time. There was like Lazarus rain all over the place, and people are getting their powers adjusted or obtaining powers, things like that throughout the entire world right now. Some of the books have taken advantage of that situation, and like there's a new Jonathan Kent book out there that touches on that a little bit, but this book gets away from that, starts a brand new story arc, so check out number 13. Number 14 here is a continuation of this new arc. We have Metamorpho, who was introduced in the last issue, and it was an interesting character because I don't really know much about Metamorpho, but we get a little backstory in there about the relationship between Metamorpho and like Batman Superman, what he's been up to, and someone's been maybe framing him using some of his powers to commit these different murders. So we have our World's Finest here teaming up right now, trying to uncover some of the clues, figure out what exactly is going on. And Bruce Wayne is a main suspect in this investigation right now, so we're having to deal with that as well. Like, how does Bruce Wayne handle that and being Batman at the same time? So we have some other ancillary characters from the Bat family joining in, and that's another thing I like about this book. You see other people besides Batman and Superman in here. We get some Robins, we get some Green Arrows, we get some other people, Supergirl, things like that in this run, and so I think it's a great combination of characters that they put together inside this run. Dan Moore on the art, absolutely spectacular. Bond Villain's doing an amazing job as well. Very good book. Check out 13 if you haven't been caught up to this so far. Check out 13, jump into 14, you won't regret it. Then we have Williamson on the main Superman book right now. So we have Superman issue number 3, Williamson and Campbell on here, and I got the variant cover because I think it's just so iconic, so classic. Definitely wanted to get this one right here. Now, this one, again, tackling another classic villain right now. We have Parasite, who I've become more accustomed to in this run and over in All-Star Superman. He was in there just for a few pages, but it was kind of cool to read both those stories around the same time, featuring the same villain at that moment. We also have Lex in here, who's playing a pivotal role in this as well. He is actually behind bars right now, but still communicating with Superman because Superman has certain voices tuned in. He's tuned into certain voices, so he can pretty much be anywhere and they can talk to him and he can understand what they're saying, which I think is a really cool touch, showing off how powerful he really is. And, you know, Lex is trying to do what Lex does, right? He's either trying to manipulate our Superman character or he's trying to be, I don't know, like unusually helpful all of a sudden in here. And so we have a little bit of that going on as well. But Parasite's a little bit out of control. His powers have adjusted, have morphed over time. And so we have the entire super family and all these other heroes trying to team up to take on this threat right now. And it's going to take their combined knowledge to take care of this. So I think it's a really cool team book, and it's building into an interesting direction for sure. So if you're into Superman, amazing artwork in here, great story, I think. Superman number 3, again, I think it's a must read. Now we have DC Silent Tales. Now, if the title wasn't enough to give it away, this is actually a collection of 6 silent tales, and it's very much in the same vein as the Star Wars Ewok issue that came out the other week, and also the It's Jeff issue that came out over in Marvel. So if you're into some silent tales, I think you're going to dig this one right here. I think this is my favorite of those 3 books. If I can force myself to classify all 3 of these as the same book, I think this is my favorite. We have some Harley action right off the bat, classic Harley form. We have some other issues in here more related to like Cyborg. He's just like chilling, listening to some like Run DMC, things like that. And some people are messing with his good time. He's just kind of laying down, just trying to relax. Of course, you got Batman, you got a Superman story in here as well, but you got some Lobo in here too. So if you're into Lobo, you're going to get some of the main man in here as well. So from an entertainment perspective, I think this is the best silent book that we've gotten so far. It is $6 though. And it's like, man, as charming and as cute and funny and whatever that the art may be and the stories may be, it's probably not worth $6. But this one's probably the biggest bang for your buck, honestly. So if you're into that stuff, maybe check out this one and not the other ones. All right, we're going to jump over to a new #1 over in Marvel. We have Warlock Rebirth, issue #1 from Ron Mars. Of course, we got that timeless Alex Ross variant with Thanos on the cover. I like this one a lot. Thanos is pretty cool in this issue here, and I can't wait to finally collect all of them and figure out some kind of weird display for them. So what's going on here? I don't have any personal experience really with him, Adam Warlock, and so this book here was a little bit lost on me, but they did introduce a very pivotal new character, I would imagine, in this story here, and they did it in a fairly organic way. Of course, we have Pip the Troll, we have like Gamora and things like that. They meet somebody, I will let you figure out who that is, and they usher him into meeting Adam Warlock, but Adam Warlock is actually on the run right now from this new character, and we get to have a little battle between those characters. I don't want to show off exactly what's going on in there. A little bit of a derivative character, so if you're not into that kind of a thing, you might be a little disappointed here, but I am anxious to know, not necessarily this story, I'm anxious to know the long-term repercussions of this new character. Is it going to be someone that we're all going to forget about in like 3 months or however long the run's going to be, whatever it might be? Or is this somebody that's going to completely change the landscape and be a pivotal character for the next 40 years? We're going to find out. Who knows? But, if you're a Warlock fan, you probably will dig this one. If you're into more like Guardians kind of stuff, you might dig this book. But if you're someone who doesn't know Adam Warlock at all, there's probably not a whole lot going on in this book that you're really going to appreciate. The art's okay, honestly. So like story's okay, art's okay. I want to know, how important this character is going to become. And maybe that would change my perception of this book. What'd you guys think? All right, the next Marvel book we read this week was Avengers Assemble Omega issue #1, and I love that Galactus cover because it fills up the entire cover of this book, which I think is a pretty cool little design choice that Alex Ross made, or whoever made that design choice, rather than having some white borders here. He's so gigantic, of course, right? He needs to fill up the entire page on here, so very cool design choice right off the bat. Now, I have not really been following Jason Aaron's Avengers run. I've heard a lot of people talk about it. They like it, they don't like it, things like that. They're ready for the story to finally progress. I did read all the tie-in events with Judgment Day and things like that, so I have a pretty good understanding of what's going on, and I touch base with the Aaron run here and there. So this one was actually pretty interesting because basically all the different heroes right now are actually combining forces to take on this like inevitable flood of darkness, right? It almost reminds me of like the Black Winter in a way. It's like this immense evil is just like buried right now. It's actually being unleashed. We learned that Mephisto's to blame for this kind of stuff. And we literally have like all the heroes you can imagine from all the different multiverses out there teaming up to take on this threat right now. We have several different Phoenixes. We have several different like Thors and things like that from all the across the multiverses and whatnot. We have different Doctor Stranges and things like that. We have Celestials involved. We have Ghost Riders. We have Valkyries. We have all kinds of people. Starbrand. We have all kinds of folks teaming up right now to take on this gigantic threat that's going to essentially wipe out all of existence, and that's Mephisto's plan right now. So I think the epicness, the scale of this battle, I think was executed fairly well. We have this sense of impending doom that we just don't know how to overcome. We have a lot of cool epic moments in here too. Of course, we have Captain America leading the charge against this force. We get some Doctor Doom in here as well. We got a lot of characters, man. There's so many characters inside this book. And I thought it was a great use of all those different folks. We get some Namor in here. And, do they save the day? Are they able to hold back this, almost like this inevitability from washing over the multiverse and wiping everybody out? Well, you can read this one and find out for yourself. But I like the scale. The art was okay. I like the scale, like I said, the use of all the characters. I like where it headed, and it's definitely got me interested for the restart of Avengers here pretty soon. Avengers Assemble Omega, did you read it? What'd you guys think? Then, holy cow, guys. Just when I think this book can't get any better, we have Punisher from Jason Aaron, issue #11 on this book. I'm telling you, you got to be reading Punisher if you're not reading it right now. The hype is real, so like if you're scared to jump into Punisher because so many people have said it's a great book, and it kind of rewrites a little bit of stuff, maybe it rewrites his history a little bit, but just read the book, and just accept what's happening, and I think you'll come to the realization that like, okay, there's not as many things changes as we kind of thought initially. The art you grow into really, really quick as well. I was not a fan of the art, but as I read 2, 3, 4, I'm like, well, of course, this art works perfectly for this kind of story, because we're actually telling two different stories right now. We're telling the story of Frank Castle basically selling his soul to the Hand to get his family back. And so what does that mean? That means he's got to take on all these threats out there. These different people, heroes and villains, are now coming at him full force to take him out, to take him down, because his impact across the world has been so brutal that like you can't sit by and watch him just do this kind of stuff. So in this cover right here, we have Captain America going at head to head with the Punisher here, and you do get some of that finally inside of here. We got some buildup in some previous issues, but we have Captain America and team finally confronting Frank Castle, and we see exactly how that goes down, which is not very good for the Avengers. The other story that they're telling, the B plot in here, is Maria is actually uncovering some of the past. She's reliving some of the past, thinking about her memories with her husband, things like that, about how he was acting after he got back from the war, things like that, obviously pre-park visit, right? And we've been slowly building up this timeline up until this current issue here, right before the park incident. And we have Maria kind of uncovering the secrets of what her husband's exactly been up to. Not only that, but what he's been up to in the current time as well. And he just has to get the job done because she wants him to finally come home, right? Whatever home is for him. So we've been building and building and building on all these issues, and we finally got to a point where he's ready to come home. But has Maria uncovered too much about his past? What does she think about him? And what is she going to do when he finally gets through the door? We're going to find out. If you read this issue, you will find out at the end here. I'm super excited for issue number 12. I cannot wait to see it. Is there a 13? I haven't looked yet. I hope it doesn't end at 12. But we're going to be checking it out, man. Super awesome run. Check out Punisher. It is great. Now for the indie scene, we have a few indie books right here. We're going to start with The Forged from Image Comics from Rucka. This is a great, great book as well. In fact, I think there's a second print of issue number 1 at my shop right now too. And if no one's going to claim that at the end of the week, I might go ahead and pick up that second print of issue number 1 because the cover's fire on that one. Really great book. So if you're into like space exploration, mechs, a little bit of supernatural stuff, really powerful like Ripley type women in like the Squad, and you don't mind some like rough language and some hairy situations with like alien parasites and things like that, man, this book is definitely for you. They set up this this very interesting universe right now. Basically, they talk about colonizing different planets. There's actually like a training debrief or lesson in the back when they train new recruits for this, military or whatever it is that they have right now. There's actually a lot of text in the back of this book that goes over like stories and stuff like that they tell the guys, and it gives you a lot of context about where they might be going. And when you read the comic, you might have a few answers, but then when you read that text in the back, of course, it kind of provides you with a little bit more context, which I think is really cool. The previous issue, we ended with our squad of the Forged, these like Ripley type women in their mech suits going down on this planet to recover this black box essentially, but someone sabotaged their main ship that they came from, and it's coming down on top of them, and it's about to crash land on their heads as they're descending in the atmosphere. And so it shows the whole story of how they evade that, what kind of life is on this planet, can they get through that, things like that. And then they actually come across some kind of a base where they think maybe some refugees went from this, this ship that they're trying to explore, this black box they're trying to recover. So this book is actually really fun. If you're into that space battle, mech suit kind of stuff, you're going to love this book. I had a blast with it. It's one of my favorites right now. The Forged issue number 2 from Rucka. Check this one out too. It's awesome. All right, we have a couple digital indies right here we're going to cover real quick. This one is Terror War from Ahmed, and I'm not familiar with the writer on this one, but I wanted to jump in because it was a new number 1 from Image Comics, and I was a little excited to get into there because the title's pretty cool and the cover is pretty interesting, so we're going to get inside of here. It's an interesting premise. We basically have these people out there. There's like a squad of folks that have gotten together. It's like a futuristic landscape, almost like a New York City kind of a landscape. And they actually go around destroying basically these monsters from like the end, like the Pillsbury Doughboy at the end of Ghostbusters. They think of these horrors, these terrors, just random people, and they think about them so much they actually manifest in real life, kind of like a Department of Truth situation from what I understand. And this guy and his squad are actually tasked with collecting bounties on these things and actually destroying them with like these special abilities and things like that. So we get to meet our main character, we get to meet our squad. They go out and they take on some pretty awesome looking terrors out there. But they're not the only squad out there that takes care of these things, and there's a little bit of inner battling between those different groups. So I thought it was pretty cool. Art-wise, it was very interesting. It was very brutal, high action, fast-paced, things like that. Each person in the squad has their own voice and things like that, so they're pretty interesting. No one's really boring on there. And I think there's just enough like supernatural element on here to keep people interested in this book. So this is a great one. I highly recommend checking it out. So check out Terror War if you haven't yet, because it was pretty fun. All right, and the last book I read, I should have included with the DC stuff, but I did not. We have Superboy, Man of Tomorrow. Again, this is part of that Dawn of DC run right here. Another character that I don't know much about, we have Connor Kent. Don't know much about this guy, but he's basically trying to find his place inside of Metropolis. He's back in our main Earth right now. You know, we have Jonathan Kent coming to his own. We have Kara flying around as well. We have Clark flying around. So it's like, there's a lot of people in Metropolis right now. So he needs to go find his own path, right? He needs to go find his own place to defend, his own place to mature. And so this is a book about how to exactly do that. Of course, he gets some mama and papa advice right there. So he goes shooting off, trying to figure out some stuff right now. He takes his search into the stars, but maybe bit off more than he can chew with this this new villain that he finds out there, and these other heroes that are out in the galaxies as well. So super excited for the new characters they introduce in here as well. I like Connor's attitude. I like his perspective. I think it's a very rational thing to think. It's like every time I step up to help save that kitten from the tree, there's two other Supes over there, or the Flash or something like that, already beating me to the punch. But he's taking his search to the stars right now, and I'm excited for the team that he runs into and the villains and things like that. So we're going to see how Superboy Man of Tomorrow unfolds over the next few issues. Let me know if you read it and what you guys think of it. So guys, that's actually it for me. Told you it was going to be a short week, so we'll see what next week brings us, but make sure to go down below in the comments and let me know what your favorite books of the week were. And while you're down there, if it's your first time watching the video, please consider hitting that subscribe button as well. I'd really appreciate it. But as always, happy reading, and I'll see you guys down below in the comments.